This is a model of chess strategy that has taken me over 18 years of playing experience, including 14 plus years of United States Chess Federation uh, tournament playing experience to come up with. Um, Basically, we know that the thing that actually ends a game of chess in a win is always going to be a checkmate, right? And being as the goal of the game is to win, you always want to checkmate the opponent. However, once you get to the higher levels of chess play, you'll notice that as you're watching grandmasters play chess, a lot of the times they'll resign before the game gets to checkmate, which indicates that in the eyes of grandmasters, there are positions in which a certain soft end game condition has been reached, which are these. And these, you can say, are the objectives of the game that are not just checkmate, right? Checkmate is basically a rule of the game. If the board position is a check in which the king cannot capture the checking piece or block the check, then it's over. But an objective is kind of an intermediate step to checkmate. And the last intermediate step in a game that sort of is complete, right? You have certain games that might end very early. Like you might forget about blockading your opponent's queen bishop battery to h7 or g7, h2, g2, and so forth, and you get checkmated in the middle game. That is not what most chess players would consider a full or complete or satisfactory game. A satisfactory game is kind of a positional battle, maybe a few tactical flares, but ultimately one that transitions into an endgame and is requires calculation and ultimately ends in one player promoting a pawn. So promoting a pawn is sort of the last soft endgame position before checkmate. And in the higher levels of play, if a grandmaster, for example, can see that the opponent is going to inevitably promote a pawn, he'll resign. Now, going one step further back, assassinating an enemy's character, winning a pawn, winning a piece, winning two pawns, winning the exchange, winning any sort of material is ultimately going to facilitate the promotion of a pawn. If you go into an endgame up a whole rook, up a whole knight, you might not be able to checkmate just with that excess material, but you will be able to use that excess material to push a pawn all the way to the 8th rank, convert it to a queen, and then use that queen to checkmate. There might be even less of a material advantage. One pawn advantage, oftentimes, for a grandmaster is enough to win because he has the endgame technique to promote the pawn, which is why in the very high levels of play, sometimes simply assassinating a character is enough to end the game. Simply winning a pawn is enough to end the game. Simply, of course, winning a piece generally is going to be enough. Now, if you go even one step back, there is something that's even more fundamental that causes the assassination of characters, and that's what I call total mobility. So let's take a look at this effector diagram. This is a diagram that shows the number of attackers and defenders in each square and whether that square is controlled by the protagonist, in which case it's green, or it's neutral, in which case it's blue, or controlled by the opponent, in which case it's red. Chess, in terms of squares, is a control of territory and position, and how many squares, including those squares that are occupied by the enemy's pieces, you control. And the more such squares you control, the more opportunities you have for tactics. In this position, the A1 square is attacked twice and only defended once. And so being as it's the second player's turn to move, he can win this rook, leading from a position in which he has superior maximal total ability to a position in which he has assassinated an enemy's character, allowing him to either promote a pawn or ultimately checkmate the opponent. And so these, I would say, one of these four is the objective of the game of chess.